If you're new to the channel, please subscribe.
I'm a landscape photographer, and when I edit my images in Lightroom, one thing that I use a lot, and I think you will as well, are masks. The masking in Lightroom is absolutely phenomenal. The first thing I'm going to do is show you the changes I have made to get to this point. I've changed the highlights to make the clouds pop a little bit more, and increase the shadows to make the rocks show up a little bit more, and change my whites and black point. And I've added a little bit of color grading to make it look more like a Florida sunset. The only thing I have yet to do is I need to work on the tone curve. I want to add a little bit of contrast to the image, and I do this by choosing one of my presets, which is medium contrast. Now, when you change tonal values by changing contrast, you change saturation as well. And I can undo any saturation changes that I've made by dragging the refine saturation slider in the tone curve panel to the left. Okay, the image is looking pretty good, but the sky needs to be a little bit darker. And this is where we start using our masks. So I click the mask icon and I click sky, and it selects the sky. Now, I pumped up the overlay a little bit so we can see exactly what's going on in here. Let's tidy things up a little bit and rename this to sky. Now I want to duplicate and invert the mask. And that will select the lower half of the image. And I'm going to darken things just a bit. And the goal is, the viewer is going to go from dark to light. I want his eyes drawn to the sunset and the horizon. So I've got a good start. But the top of the sky needs to be a bit darker. So to do that, I'm going to create a linear gradient. And when you create a linear gradient, if you hold down the Shift key and you drag down, you constrain the gradient horizontally. I'm just going to undo this and show you one other thing. If I needed to create a linear gradient from the left, I could constrain it vertically by holding down the Shift key here. But in this case, we want to darken the sky, so create new mask, linear gradient, and this time I'm going to decrease the exposure to darken the top of the sky. There, now that's looking pretty good. One more thing I want to do, I want to make these rocks pop just a little bit more. To do this, I'm going to create a radial gradient. Now move the radial gradient so it covers the rocks. And now I go into effects and I'm going to increase the texture. Now we've got a good looking sunset, but one thing you may not have noticed, when Lightroom created the mask for the sky, it also included some of the water. Now I could get real diligent and click the subtract button and paint over the water to take care of that. But there's an easier way. If I hold down the Alt key on a Windows machine or Option on a Mac and click Intersect, and now I click Select Sky, notice the difference it's made. I'm going to do this one more time. I'm going to intersect, select sky, and our mask is just about perfect. Just by doing that one simple trick and intersecting the sky with the sky. I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope you learned something. If you learned something, please give it a thumbs up. And I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe to the channel. so you'll be notified when I create new videos.